if you open the hood and you look at where the fender meets the rest of the body, there's a Subaru stamp on there. If you look at the oil filter, it says Subaru on there. If you look at the airbox, it says Subaru. If you look at the VIN, around the VIN is also the Subaru logo. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thank you so much for tuning in. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2018 Toyota 86. That one back there. Let's first start off with the good, and there's plenty of good to talk about in this car. First of all, this is still the same fantastic lightweight sports car that everyone loves, that debuted more than 6 years ago at this point. This has a 205 horsepower Boxer 4. It's a marginal increase over the older versions. And attached to that Boxer 4 is this supremely crisp 6-speed manual transmission. You just can't go wrong with rowing your own gears. The short throw aspect of it, and the spacing of the pedals, and the willingness for the engine to just rotate. It makes heel and towing, rev matching, such a freaking delight. I think the only transmission that's better than the BRZ in this price range is the Mazda Miata or the Fiat 124. Those are a little bit more fun to shift into, but this one is still miles better than some of the other sports car offerings out there. The other good thing about this car is the Torsen limited slip differential. Now that is very critical for track days or autocrosses, because you're applying throttle when you're also turning. So that's very important, because most cars have an open differential, and an open differential is basically something that has existed in cars ever since cars needed to make a turn. It allows the wheel on one side to rotate at a different speed than the other side. The problem with an open differential is that it doesn't transfer power or torque from one side to the other. So usually the side that has the least amount of grip is getting all of the torque. So it's just going to slip and slip and slip. With a Torsen limited slip differential, or any sort of limited slip differentials, is it allows some torque transfer from one side to the other side. So in turning situations, when you're trying to apply throttle, you're actually going to get some torque. It'll help you turn better, turn faster. So if you're someone who's planning on doing some track days or some autocrosses, a limited slip differential is definitely very, very helpful. Now, just be aware that not all limited slip differentials are created equally. A Torsen limited slip differential is better than most. The viscous type definitely gives up faster than mechanical LSDs, because when the fluid heats up, it just kind of acts like a open differential. Another good thing about this car is the price. This one dials in at $27,150. The other sports car that is around this price range is the Mazda Miata or the Fiat 124. So, you know, this car always gets compared to that one just because of the price, the level of power, and just how great the handling is. So it's very similarly matched, except for this obviously has a back seat that you could actually fold down. You can fit 4 tires back there. So a lot more utility. This has a physical roof. You can actually take this on track days, and you don't have to install a silly roll bar in the back. And of course, I can't forget to mention the handling of this car. It is just beautiful. The Boxer engine allows the car to have a lower center of gravity. It's so balanced. And the suspension is just, it's nicely tuned for like these back roads, and it's not too bad when you go over some bumps. The length of the wheelbase, the lighter weight, it just makes for a purely fantastic driving experience. And there's really not a lot of cars that could beat this thing at this price point. Just such a great handling car, and you already know that. And for the 2018, that hasn't really changed. What did change though is the gearing ratio. This has a shorter final drive. You're going to have faster accelerations. You're going to move up the rev range a little bit more quickly. But there's a downside to that, and maybe this is a good time to talk about the bad parts of this car. With shorter gearing, that means that in an autocross setting, you're losing more speed at the top end of second gear, so you're going to have to shift more often. The other bad thing about the Toyota 86 is the infotainment system, because this unit has not changed for so many years that this car has been around. It's still the same crappy touchscreen. They basically just put this because people know that they're going to immediately rip this unit out when they get this car and replace it with an aftermarket unit that's so much better. So speaking of the age of the infotainment system, that also highlights how old this car is right now and how much things haven't really changed. So I'm seeing the same dials, the same feature, the same surfaces. All of these plastics were probably injection molded from the very same machines that made my car, the 2013 Subaru BRZ. And given the similarity in design, you also run into the same annoying issues. For instance, the seatbelt strap for the passenger side, when that is unbuckled, it creates a rattling sound every time you just drive. Another thing is that when it rains outside, this window will squeak when you roll it down. For some reason, that hasn't changed in the 2018 model compared to the 2013. Another bad thing about the Toyota 86, and this goes for Toyota 86s, Subaru BRZs, from now ever since the beginning, is how small the tires look compared to the rest of the body. There's such a big gap between the outside face of the wheel and the rear quarter panel or the fenders that it's begging for aftermarket wheels. And I think Toyota and Subaru knows that anyone who buys this car is probably going to rip out those stock wheels and those stock Primacy tires and replace it with something a little bit more aggressive, something with a smaller offset so that it meets the fender well a lot better. But in stock form, it looks stupid. It looks really silly. Okay, so now I've talked about the good, I've talked about the bad, let's talk about the ugly. The ugly about this car is the fact that there's so many Subaru words on this Toyota. If you open the hood and you look at where the fender meets the rest of the body, there's a Subaru stamp on there. If you look at the oil filter, it says Subaru on there. If you look at the airbox, it says Subaru. If you look at the VIN, around the VIN is also the Subaru logo. Now this was a collaboration between Toyota and Subaru. All of these cars were made in the Subaru plant. So it's not really an ugly, it's just like really strange. The other ugly thing is that, and I really didn't want to say this because I find that this complaint is so cliche about this car, is, basically that this doesn't make enough power. Yeah, that's true. 205 horsepower is not a lot at all, but you just have to change your perspective. And I know that's like a cop-out, but seriously, take this car on the back roads. Take this car on an autocross or a track day. This is a momentum car, and I hate to keep bringing that up, but it truly is. This is a car that you want to take fast around corners, and that's where you'll feel the thrill of this car. It's not from stoplight to stoplight and drag racing other cars, because you're totally going to lose to minivans. 300 horsepower cars, you're not going to beat them, even with the lightweight nature of this car. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Toyota 86. Again, my opinions come from the perspective of someone who have owned a 2013 Subaru BRZ, a car that's very similar to this, and to be honest with you, I really can't tell the difference between this car and that car, which is 5 years older than this. So what did you think about my thoughts about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this car? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you're interested in all of the stuff that I've done on my BRZ, the Project BRZ, and my autocrossing adventures, I'm going to link to the playlist up here. Please go check that out, because it really shows you with simple modifications what this car can truly turn into, and that's a serious autocross car. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, again, please check out the playlist. With that said, if you found the video helpful or somewhat entertaining, please consider giving it a thumbs up and also hitting that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell, because on Shifting Lanes there's a lot of things going on in this channel. We have project cars, like for myself, I'm running the Project BRZ or Project Driver mod, and Gregson has Project Volvo V70R, and Chad has Project IS300. In addition to project cars, we also drive a lot of press cars such as this, so there's a lot of new car reviews. There's also different driving events that we attend, which is the Fiat 124 Skip Barber Racing Academy, where I learned a lot about skid pad testing, autocross, and also some road course driving in a Fiat 124. So the Fiat 124 is somewhat of a similar sports car to this, so if you're interested in checking that video out, again, I'll link to it up here. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning into the video and watching till the very end, and I'll see you next time.